Good evening, my beautiful brothers and sisters in Yeshua. Today is Tuesday, the 9th of April 2024. It is 10:08 p.m. here in Australia. I hope you're all very well and I hope you're all blessed. I've just been doing some study and I thought, hey, why not? Why not make a video while I'm studying? And this subject in particular is very close to my heart, and I know it enrages and triggers a lot of people. But I mean, if you've been with me for a few years, you know my standpoint on this. I won't say my views because I stand on this with my life. And I just thought, you know what? While we're waiting for that blessed day, our blessed hope to be taken out of here, I thought, you know, why not make a little series perhaps of just Bible studies and different subjects, and, you know, just so that we can commune with each other. And, you know, because a lot of us, I've noticed, are as lonely as I am. When you walk with the Father and you seek the kingdom of heaven, it is a pretty lonely life. So I thought, why not? Let's do some Bible study. So I just came across something interesting, and tonight's video rather, is going to be about who Jesus is and who the Father is. Okay, so obviously the common consensus, and I know people will say, no, it's not, when I say what the common consensus is, but most people believe that Jesus is God, okay, but that Jesus is God the Father. And, you know, a lot of people are going to jump straight to that and say, no, we don't believe that. We don't believe that God is the Father. But in saying that, if you believe in the Trinity, then you actually do believe that Jesus is God, the Holy Spirit is God, God is God, and they are all one, but they're three separate people, etc., etc. Okay, so that is the Trinity, and that's something that I am against, and I don't hold it against anybody. Everybody is free to believe as they feel convicted to. I'm just coming from my point of view, and I thought tonight I would share why I feel and believe the way that I do. The first thing I want to say before I even start is we've got to come to an agreement, brothers and sisters, that we are to love one another, and you know, to be Bereans of the word, to study it to see if these things are true. Okay, and you know, and that's what I'm here to do. So I thought we'd do a bit of a study about this subject tonight, and I'll show you where I'm coming from and why I believe the way I do, and why I'm so passionate about it. And yeah, so let's jump into it. So here you can see John 1, chapter 1, okay, John 1. And everybody uses this to, you know, to convince me and other people who don't believe in the Trinity that, you know, that Jesus is God. Okay, and now let's get this straight. When I say I don't believe that Jesus is God, when I say that, I mean I do not believe that he is the Father. I believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of the living God. Okay, the literal begotten Son of the living God. I believe it as simple as a child. I believe that he was born of a woman, Mary, and he had no earthly father, but the Father in heaven was his Father, and this is why he is the literal Son of the living God. Okay, when I say that Jesus is not God the Father, I in no way mean any disrespect and in no way belittling Jesus. Jesus is the reason that you and I can even have eternal life, you know, in the very highest regard. He sits on the right hand side of the Father's throne, and that's, you know, he's literally 2IC. The Father gets the number one position, Yeshua Jesus Christ gets second, you know, then the angels, then my family. You know, that's the line of it. So I just need to stress that I absolutely love Yeshua Jesus Christ. But it hurts my soul when people think that, you know, when we get to heaven, It's going to be Jesus that's just sitting on the throne, and that's it. And that Jesus encompasses God and everything that God is. It hurts me because to me it takes away the love story. The love story that the Father loved this world so much that he would give up the one most precious thing to him, his one and only begotten Son, to give to us as as a sacrifice, so that we may live eternally. Like, that is so beautiful and so special. And the one thing that I always say to people is, look at it this way. Imagine, because people will say, oh, God came down and he became a man in the flesh, and he died for our sins. Okay, first off, I don't think it would be a fair idea that if God himself came down as a man and then died on the cross, okay? For one, God can't die. God cannot die. The Father in heaven cannot die. If God died, everything would cease to exist in a second, okay? It would done, completely done. And the second is, if it was the Father that came down and masqueraded himself as Jesus Christ, then how is that fair? Because Father is a spirit. He is not a human being that goes through these trials and temptations and hardships of only something that a human being can experience. So if God was to come down here, become a human, you don't know for absolute sure that he Father hasn't put on some kind of veil to appear as if he suffered on the cross and appear that he overcame temptation and all this kind of stuff. We don't know that, but with Jesus Christ being a literal human being born from a literal woman, it is absolutely fair, because he's like one of us. Jesus is like one of us. He is our brother, okay? And he went through the temptations and he overcame everything. And that's why the whole thing of Jesus being a human being has to be that way. It can't be that our Father in heaven, who is a spirit, just changed himself into Jesus, came down, died on the cross, and then, it doesn't work like that. And again, if God was to die, the whole world would cease to exist. So that's my preface about where I'm coming from with this. Now, let's jump into the scriptures here, okay? In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God, and all things that were made by him, and with him was not anything made that was made. Okay? And in him was life, and the life was the light of men. Full stop. Okay, let's concentrate on John 1:1-4. Now, I've done this video before where I've shown you and proven to you that the word, right? The actual word, was never capitalized in the original. Now, the original Bible that we have is the Tyndale. That was even before the Geneva Bible, okay? The Tyndale, which was written in 1526. Now, I want to read you this little statement here by the Tyndale Bible. William Tyndale, from 1494 to 1536, was an English scholar who translated the New Testament and all parts of the Old Testament into English at the start of the Reformation era, and at a time when it was still illegal to make a Bible available in ordinary languages. The established church considered Holy Scriptures too subtle for the untrained minds, and liable therefore to lead them into wicked errors. An expert linguist, Tyndale went back to the original sources, Hebrew and Greek, for his translations. The first time ever in English. So the Tyndale Bible is the first Bible ever to be written in English. Just as Martin Luther's translation of the Bible became the standard of educated Germans, so Tyndale's creative development of the Middle English formed the basic of modern English, which Shakespeare and other writers would further cultivate. In fact, much of the subsequent English language Geneva Bible of the 1560s and the King James Bible, the 1611 Authorized Version, directly copied Tyndale. This later influence did not save him from death as a heretic. The passage below comprises the first chapter of the Gospel according to St. John. Much of the original spelling has been preserved, and though it differs from ours, sounding the words out phonetically generally makes it possible to understand the meaning. For the complete text online, click here, etc., etc. Okay, and so you can see here the first part of John chapter 1, okay? It says, in the beginning was the Word. Let's see if we can make this bigger. As you can see, the spelling is a lot different than what we have today, and there's probably a good reason, like a benevolent reason why they changed English, because anyway. In the beginning was the Word. Notice the word is not in capitals, okay? In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by it, and without it was made nothing that was made. In it was life, and the life of ye light of men. Okay. I need you to pay attention to that, brothers and sisters. So here we have in the King James, okay, in the beginning was the Word with a capital, and the Word was God, and the Word was God, and the Word was God. What? And the Word was God, and the Word was God. Okay. Why does that repeat? Oh, sorry. It's late at night. Okay, I'll start again. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Okay? The same was in the beginning with God, and all things were made by who? Him. Okay, so they're trying to say that Jesus is called the Word, okay, because it's capitalized here, and they're trying to say that all things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. And in him was life, and the life was the light of men. Now when we go to the Geneva Bible, this isn't even the Tyndale. But remember before I read to you that the Geneva and then the King James copied off the Tyndale, right? So here we have again, in the beginning was that Word. And so as you can see here, they've capitalized the word, okay? But here it says all things were made by it, and without it was made nothing that was made, and in it was life, and that life was the light of man. I hope and pray you can see the significance in this, brothers and sisters. Just by changing a word to a capital, or a letter to a capital, and giving it, making it somebody's name, you have got a whole doctrine right there, okay? A whole doctrine right there. So let's go back to, let's see if we can get a PDF. This looks like a PDF here. The Tyndale Bible, okay? Okay, give me 2 seconds, I'm going to find one. Alright, well this looks really, really interesting. Obviously, let's have a look, we'll zoom this in. As you can see here, the Gospel of Matthew, the Gospel of Mark, Luke, and so on and so on. So this would be incredible to read. So let's, we'll minimize it a bit. We've got Matthew, the second chapter, Matthew. Alright, I'm obviously not going to, I'm going to save this and look right into it, but let's just leave that for another time. But I just wanted you to understand, brothers and sisters, that this, where are we? Hang on. Yes, so anyway, I just put that on my bookmark tab and I'll look at that in depth more later. But I just wanted you to understand here, in the beginning was the word, little w, okay? Which makes so much more sense, okay? In the beginning was the word, and the word was with God, and the word was God, okay? The word, you know, is what created everything, you know, Father's, his spirit and everything like that, you know, and all things were made by it, you know, the spoken word. And without it was made nothing that was made, and in it was life, and the life was in the light of men. Okay, this makes a lot of sense because, you know, people will try and say, oh, you know, Jesus is all through the Old Testament and whatnot. But, you know, I want to go through with you now a couple of prophecies. Now, this is going to be highly controversial, but you know me, brothers and sisters, I want the truth and nothing but the truth. And the greatest thing for me is to honour my Father in heaven, okay? That's exactly what Jesus did. And, you know, he came to fervently protect the will of God and to disclose Father's character, who he is, what his will is, and, you know, and I want to try and you know, be exactly as Jesus Christ was, you know, to protect Father's honour, his place, who he is, and all that kind of stuff. So the next thing I wanted to show you, brothers and sisters, was if we go to, we're just going to type in the phrase, no one seen. Okay. No man seen God. Okay, let me find this because this is very important. Okay. Now, this is another example, brothers and sisters, why different translations are so dangerous. And, you know, people want to say, oh, how can, you know, the Father's word, God's word is preserved, you know, no one can touch it. Brothers and sisters, the enemy has infiltrated absolutely everything, okay? The thin red scarlet line that runs from the beginning to the end of the you know, from the Old Testament to the New Testament, that will always remain perfect, so that the basis and the truth of, you know, who God is, what his Son did for us, that will never ever ever disappear. But everything else has been so jumbled up that, you know, this is why it says it's the glory of God to conceal a matter, and it's the glory of kings to search it out. This is literally what our job is as human beings, as children of God, is to seek out the kingdom of heaven first, and that nothing else is as important as that. Okay, so here, let's have a look. John 1:18. Okay, John 1:18. And in the King James Version, it says, no man has seen God at any time. Okay, no one has ever seen God. So this is why when people say, Jesus was God, just a man, God manifested as a man on this earth. This would be contradicting, okay? It says no man has seen God at any time. And it goes on later in the scriptures to say that Father is a spirit. Okay, and that's why it says, that's why he was talking to the woman, and she was like, oh, we're supposed to go and worship in Jerusalem. And he said, no, there's coming a time where you're going to worship the Father in spirit, because he is spirit. Okay, the Father is spirit, and no man has seen him. So, John 1:18 in the King James says, no man has seen God at any time, the only begotten Son, who is in the bosom of the Father, he has declared him. Okay? And if you want to say, see, he's in the bosom of the Father, so he is the Father and all that kind of stuff. Remember, all the Old Testament saints, they were in the bosom of Abraham. So they weren't all Abraham, were they? It's to say, and also when Jesus says, I am one with the Father. It says that right in the beginning in Genesis, that a man shall leave his mother and father, and he shall cleave to his, the woman, and they shall become one flesh. Becoming one with someone is to become an agreement for the will, for the will of that person. Yeshua Jesus Christ becomes one with his Father because he literally is the express image of his Father and his will. And that's what he came here to do, to let us know what the Father's will is and how we can, put it into our life. And you know what I'm trying to say, right? Now, listen to this. I'm going to read this again, and I'm going to read a different version. No man has ever seen God at any time, the only begotten Son, who is in the bosom of the Father. He has declared him. Okay, now let's go down to the NIV. Okay, this is the NIV. No one has ever seen God, but the one and only Son, who is himself God and is in the closest relationship with the Father, has made him known. Now, you cannot tell me that's not blasphemous, brothers and sisters. They've literally changed the whole scripture, from no man has ever seen God at any time, the only begotten Son who is in the bosom of the Father, he has declared him, changing it to no one has ever seen God but the one and only Son who is himself God, and in the closest relationship with the Father has made himself known. Brothers and sisters, can you please see why I'm so passionate about this? What is the first commandment? I am the Lord thy God, that you should have no other gods before me, because I'm a jealous God. Don't make any images that are in heaven, that are on the earth or below the earth, or, I'm a jealous God. So, okay, and so the next one I wanted to just show you, and also too, let's talk about the word God. The word God is a title, and in Psalms 82, it says that ye are all gods, because we are the children of the Most High. So we are effectively all gods too. Okay, so there is no issue with Jesus being a God, because he is the Son of God, just like we are gods too, because we are children of the Most High. It literally says that in Psalms 82. The issue I have, which I think is incredibly blasphemous, is to say that Jesus Christ is the Father. Okay, and to also say that the Holy Spirit is God as well. The Holy Spirit is the Spirit of the Father, which was given to us as a gift so that we may commune with the Father. And this is why his Son died on the cross. He tore that temple, that veil, okay, which guarded the Holy of Holies. And now, because of that great gift, we are able to spiritually enter into the Holy of Holies and talk with our Father, sit by the throne and have a chat with him, cry with him, laugh with him. You know, and making it out that all of this is some kind of, theological, maze that we have to try and work through. And then, what annoys me is when people say, oh, look, if, there's some things that we can't understand, and if I can't understand it, then God doesn't want me to understand it, and I'm not going to try and understand it. I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? How could you not want to try and understand Father so that you can truly please the Father and truly seek him out? If you're just going to shrug your shoulders and say, well, I don't understand that, I'm sorry, but Father did not make me like that. He did not give me a heart that just went, oh, well, I don't understand that, so let's move on. So, the word God is a title, okay? And anyway, so let's move on to the next thing, which is Isaiah 9:6. Okay, so this is the other thing that the churches will say, see, this is proof of the Trinity. This is proof that Jesus Christ is the Father. Okay, this is the big one here. Okay, Isaiah 9:6. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. I would agree with you. If this was the proper verse, then it indeed says the child is going to be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, and the Prince of Peace. But, brothers and sisters, this is why we are to seek out the truth, okay? When you go to the original Hebrew, you can have a look at that verse, and we're going to do that right now. Where are we? Isaiah chapter 9. Okay, let's have a look at Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6. The first thing you'll notice is in the original Hebrew, it's verse 5, not verse 6. Okay, so this says here, for a child has been born to us. All right, this is already in previous tense, okay, because in the King James Version it says, for unto us a child is born. And here it says, for a child has been born to us, a son given to us, and the authority is upon his shoulder. Now listen, and the wondrous advisor, the mighty God, the everlasting Father, called his name the Prince of Peace. Very, very different. Did you hear that, brothers and sisters? Very different. King James says, for unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulders, and his name shall be called the Wonderful Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. But in original, it is, for a child has been born to us, a son is given to us, and the authority is upon his shoulder. And the wondrous advisor, the mighty God, the everlasting Father, called his name the Prince of Peace. Do you see how dangerous this is, brothers and sisters? These are the two big verses that people will use. Okay, Isaiah 9 and, John 1. So, I wanted to show you that and make you think. Let's be logical here. Who did Jesus cry to in the garden? Tears of blood. And say, Father, please, if you can take this cup from me, please. But if it is your will, then I will do it. Why would anybody cry tears of blood to themselves? If Father died on that cross, we wouldn't even be sitting here right now, brothers and sisters. The world would have ceased to exist. It even says in the Old Testament that God cannot die. It even says in the Old Testament that God is not a human. So it clearly by the scriptures only, not just by my opinion, and I want to protect this, and I'm fiercely passionate about this subject because I think it is the devil's very, very, very clever way of bringing in a doctrine that sounds good and no one wants to question it because it is being told to us that it's a salvation issue. And I think it is. I absolutely agree that it's a salvation issue, because when we go to look at the first commandments, like I said, it's the first one. Okay, I'm the Lord thy God, which brought you out of the land of Egypt. You shall have no other gods before me. No other gods before me. So, people want to say, the verse in the New Testament says, he didn't think it was anything to give him, to be equal with God. Okay? They'll use that and say, look, he was equal. There's a reason why Jesus Christ sits on the right-hand side of the Father's throne. Okay? Jesus is incredibly special. Don't ever get me wrong. Okay? Because there's nobody on this earth ever to ever exist that was born from a woman, but their father was literally the creator of the heavens, the earth, and fountains of the deep. That is pretty enormously special. And this is why Jesus will always be out of us all, the very highest of the high. But you've got to remember that, just as we read in Hebrew 1, let's read that now. Okay, let's read that now. I'll just finish this quickly. And they shall not make any graven images or likeness of anything that is in heaven above. Okay, so don't make any graven images or likeness of heaven above and earth beneath, or that's under the earth. And don't bow yourself down to them, nor serve them. What is everybody doing every Sunday or whatever at church? They're bowing down to Jesus and, they're worshipping him. And this is why I tried, when I was talking about Jesus possibly being an angel, everybody went into an uproar and said, how blasphemous that you say this. But the burning bush story, brothers and sisters, we'll have a look at that quickly. Burning bush. People assume that was, that was God. But look at this. Now Moses kept the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the back side of the desert and came to the mountain of God, even to Horeb. And the angel of the Lord appeared to him in the flame of the fire out the midst of the bush. An angel of the Lord. Okay, an angel of the Lord. And you go read all the Old Testament. When the Father even said, I'm going to send my angel that is going to go before you, and he's going to appear as a pillar of light, or a pillar of fire, and a pillar of cloud by day. That was an angel. That was Father's angel, which could more than likely be his son. In the second Esdras, right? In second Esdras, it does say that that God's son, Jesus, and it talks a lot more openly and more elaboration in second Esdras about Christ. But it says that he was going to be kept hidden until he was revealed. So in other words, he was hidden all through the Old Testament, okay? And, and you can see here all these big important events where people assume it's just God is actually an angel of the Lord, which I think was Yeshua Jesus Christ. And then in Revelation, right at the end, it's the angel that comes out of the sun, and it has he's clothed in the sun, and he has a rainbow around his head, which is exactly like his papa sitting on the throne, because there's a rainbow around the throne. You know, this particular angel, the seventh angel, was the one that showed John all this stuff. And then John fell down and worshipped it. That's the only angel that he talked through the whole thing that he fell down and worshipped. And what did that angel say? Don't do that. Only worship God, because I am a fellow brethren just like you. And what does Jesus call himself in the Old Testament? You know, when Mary, his mother, was there, and the people were like, hey, Jesus, your mother's here. And he said, who is my mother? Who is, you know, my brother, whatever. And he said, you know, you are all like my brothers and sisters, and I'm like my mother. This is why Father told us there's an inheritance waiting for us. Inheritance waiting for his son and for us, everyone who believes. Okay, we're all in this together. Yeshua Jesus Christ is our brother. You know, he's much, much more important than us, believe me. And what he did was incredible and can never be repaid. But, you know, and again, when you read in Hebrews 1, you know, to what day or to what angel did I ever say, today you're going to be my son and I'm going to be your father? You know, out of all the angels, you know. And then it says that when they were having the discussion about, you know, if a woman marries one guy and then he dies, and then she marries his brother and he dies, and then she marries the next brother and he dies, whose wife will she be on the day of resurrection? And then the answer was neither, because because you are like the angels. You won't marry when you're in heaven. You know, in the eternal life, you don't marry. You're like the angels. And this is what I believe. I believe that we were all angels before we came down here. Okay, we were all spiritual beings before we came down here. I think what happened, we were up there before all of this went down, and Satan went off his little pride ego trip and you know, deceived us and whispered sweet nothing into our ear. And because of that, and because Father was just and perfect and righteous and gave us free will, this is where the whole human experience came from. You know, I truly believe that we each had to go through this to make that choice, whether we're going to follow Satan with him and his plans, he reckons he can do it better, or whether we're going to follow the Father and come back home. You know? I just don't understand why people are so quick to say, oh, you're blasphemous because you don't believe this and you don't believe this. But I read and study, brothers and sisters, and back everything up with Scripture. It's just, it triggers you, because this version of the Bible has been told to us from decades. You know, from the Pharisees and Sadducees of old to the modern ones, you know. All the Bible schools and the scholars, they get handed down the same books and the same lessons, and this is how it has to be taught. So it's a control thing. It's an absolute control thing. Okay, so, you know, this is incredibly important. But I think I'm going to leave it there for this part 1, series 1, whatever you're going to call it. But I think we'll do something new every couple of nights. And, you know, before you're quick to hurl stones at me, please look into it yourself. Look at the original translations. Think about the Trinity. Where did that doctrine come from, brothers and sisters? Where did that doctrine come from? Okay, it came from the Mother Church. Council of Nicaea, the Roman Church, which became the Roman Catholic Church, which became the Catholic Church. That is the mother of harlots. That is, you know, the Mother Church. And we are all the little offspring churches, or all the sister churches of that big Mother Church. That's why we're to come out of her. Okay? Father's Spirit, the Holy Spirit which resides in us, can teach us far better than any person on the pulpit. So I'm going to leave this study session tonight just with those couple of things and give you something to think about, brothers and sisters. And again, I want to stress, I love you very, very, very much, okay? You are deeply, deeply in my heart. And I don't want to show you this to cause contention. Rather, I want you to see how beautiful and special the gift that our Father, our Papa, our Daddy in heaven sacrificed and gave his one and only begotten Son. It is so much more of a beautiful story when you look at it like that and you see it for what it really is, rather than God just going, oh, well, I'm just going to come down here and be a man and, just die on a cross. I mean, the world would cease to exist in a second. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. Please do your own research. If you want to have a go at me, whatever, I'm going to leave you comments there because that's fine. I understand that this triggers a lot of people. And, I've had people over the years who are super mean to me. And then, a year or two later, I get an email where they're like, thank you so much for standing up for this. I can finally see what you mean, and I'm glad that I've come out of that. And so, even if it's just a handful of people in 5 years' time, that's my job is done. You know what I mean? But I'm not here to convict or convince you in anything. Take this to the Father. Take this to the Word of God in prayer and look into it for yourself. Okay? But go search the original doctrines, the original books. Okay? Look at the Apocrypha. There's a reason they take these things out. We should know not to trust the powers that be. They're not here to help us, brothers and sisters. They're here to hinder us. Look what Christ said to the Pharisees and Sadducees. He's like, just because you can't get in, you are hell-bent on making sure no one else can get into the kingdom of heaven either. You're so busy walking around with your white robes with your little Tinkerbell things hanging off the bottom, and getting your praises in the street, but you're not teaching people the real blessings and the real meat of how wonderful the Word of God is, because they knew that they were stuffed, so they're like, right, we're taking everybody else down with us then. But anyway, again, I keep going and going. I'll leave it with that. I want to try and make a bit of a series happening, and we can study different things each night. Put in the comments, what you want to know, to give me some ideas what we can talk about it, and we'll study together. We will search it out. I will do the research because I love it. Research is my thing, my jam. So I love you, brothers and sisters. I pray that the Father blesses you. I pray that the Son blesses you, and I really hope this has opened your eyes and your ears and your heart. And so I will see you in the next video. I love you heaps. Bye-bye.